She had long black hair, pale skin, and red eyes. Lisa screamed as she realized that the figure was looking at her through the laptop's camera. This fateful instrument, using the very hair of his deceased wife for the strings. It was still dark outside, but he could see the light in the sky again. It was brighter than before and seemed to pulsate with an eerie rhythm. Hello, my dear friend. Welcome back. Welcome to this mind-tingling Halloween night. As the moon rises and the shadows grow longer, we find ourselves gathered here for a special treat, a night of whispered horrors that will send shivers down your spine. Tonight we have not one, not two, but 4 chilling tales of the supernatural, the mysterious and the unexplained, all carefully curated to ensure your Halloween is filled with delightful dread. To make this experience even more special, I've also added pictures so you can immerse yourself fully in these eerie tales. I've dimmed the lights too just for you. So grab your favorite cozy blanket and your warmest drink. Let the soothing whispers guide you through a world where eerie encounters and chilling mysteries await. Vamos! The spooky haunted house. It was Halloween night some food on the plate. It looked like meat, potatoes, and vegetables. He felt hungry and decided to taste it. He picked up a fork and stabbed a piece of meat. He brought it to his mouth and took a bite. He felt something hot and crunchy in his mouth. He spat it out and saw that it was a human finger. He looked at the plate again and realized that the meat was human flesh. He felt nauseous and vomited on the table. He heard a loud laugh behind him and turned around. He saw a woman holding a knife in her hand. She had long black hair, pale skin, and red eyes. She smiled wickedly and stabbed him in the chest. The one who went to the basement saw a door with a sign that said, "Do not enter." He ignored it and opened the door. He saw a dark and damp room with some boxes, tools, and furniture. He also saw a cage with some bones inside. He wondered what they were and approached the cage. He touched one of them and felt that it was cold and dry. He looked closer and saw that they were human bones. He felt scared and backed away from the cage. He heard a growl behind him and turned around. He saw a dog with black fur, yellow eyes, and sharp teeth. It looked like a wolf, but bigger and stronger. It jumped on him and bit his neck. The one who went to the staircase climbed up to the second floor. He saw some doors with numbers on them. He chose one of them randomly and opened it. He saw a bedroom with a bed, a closet, a dresser, and some toys on the floor. He also saw a window with curtains on it. He walked to the window and pulled the curtains aside. He saw that it was raining outside and there was lightning in the sky. He heard thunder in the distance and felt a chill in his spine. He turned away from the window and saw two children sitting on the bed. They had blonde hair, blue eyes, and white dresses. They looked at him with curiosity and smiled innocently. "Hello," they said in unison. "Who are you?" He felt relieved and smiled back. He thought they were harmless and cute. "Hi," he said. "I'm just visiting. What are your names?" They giggled and said in unison, "We are Alice and Alex. We live here with our mommy." He nodded and and started to bite his face. They said in unison, "Happy Halloween." Okay, this was eerie, but sort of like a classic haunted house story. Okay, let's move on to the second story. The Skin Mask. The night was dark and stormy, and the only sound was the rain streets now haunted by the mournful echoes of Eric's ill-fated performance, would never forget the haunting melody of the cursed violin. Oh my, this was very eerie. I had goosebumps reading this story. I don't like this. Okay, last one. The Haunting of Glenmore. Ian was a young shepherd who lived in a remote cottage in the Scottish Highlands. He had inherited the land from his father, who had died of a fever 2 years ago. Ian was a quiet and solitary man who preferred the company of his sheep and his dog, Fergus, to that of other people. One night, as he was returning home from the pasture, he noticed a strange light in the sky. It was a bright red orb that seemed to hover over the nearby hill. Ian felt a chill run down his spine as he remembered the old legends of the Glenmore, the haunted valley where his ancestors had once lived. They said that the Glenmore was cursed by an evil witch who had been burned at the stake by the villagers. She had sworn revenge on them and unleashed a plague of horrors upon the land. The Glenmore was now a place of death and terror where no one dared to go. Ian shook his head and tried to ignore the light. He thought it was probably just some natural phenomenon. He quickened his pace and reached his cottage. He locked the door behind him and lit a fire. He fed Fergus some scraps of meat and then prepared himself a simple meal of bread and cheese. He ate in silence and then went to bed. He had a restless sleep, plagued by nightmares of the witch and her minions. He saw her face twisted with rage and pain as she cursed him and his kin. He saw her eyes glowing with malice as she sent forth her creatures of the night. He saw wolves and bats, rats and crows, all with blood-red eyes and sharp teeth. favorite